better attention because it's a lot of hallelujahs coming at different times. The Holy Gospel according to Luke, the 24th chapter. But on the first day of the week at early dawn, they came to the tomb. Taking the spices that they had prepared, they found the stone rolled away from the tomb. But when they went in, they did not find the body. While they were perplexed about this, suddenly two men in dazzling clothes stood before them. The women were terrified and bowed down their faces to the ground. But the men said to them, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here, but has risen. Remember how he told you while he was still in Galilee that the Son of Man must be handed over to sinners and be crucified, and on the third day rise again." Then they remembered his words. And returning from the tomb, they told all this to the 11 and to all the rest. Now it was Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary the mother of James, and the other women with them who told this to the apostles. But these words seemed to them an idle tale, and they did not believe them. But Peter got up and ran to the tomb, stooping and looking in. He saw the linen cloths by themselves. Then he went home, amazed at what had happened. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
You may be seated. Alleluia! Christ is risen. Christ is risen indeed. Alleluia. It's a test, really. Always. Easter and Christmas are two of those times that we have heard the story so many times that we begin to put all the pieces and parts from all of the different Gospels into kind of one conglomeration of how the story is supposed to go. But on Easter, we get to pull those apart, hear the story from each individual gospel, and hear the way each gospel writer wants us to hear this amazing story. Because we're in Luke's gospel, I'm going to time travel with you a little bit, all the way back to the beginning. Some of you have been here since Advent 1 and have heard all of these pieces of the story along the way. But Luke's gospel is the gospel that loves to upset the status quo, to do things in a way that isn't quite as normal. So from the very beginning, we hear that the mighty are going to be cast down, the lowly are going to be lifted up, the mountains flattened, the roads made straight, all of these things. And so it's within that context that we come to the resurrection in Luke's gospel as well. It's in that context that we hear these words as well. And this gospel, of course, starts like many other of the Easter gospels of that first day of the week at early dawn. The women make their way to the tomb. And the one little fact that sticks through all four of the Gospels is that they all discover that the stone has been rolled away. And we're supposed to remember in this moment that we're not talking about some little stone. We're not talking about something insignificant. We're talking about something that would take several people to move. The stone has been rolled away. Now, the other thing that I think happens because we've heard these stories so many times is it's hard to find ourselves into the emotion of the day. So imagine for a moment these women who have come to the tomb. They go inside the tomb and they did not find the body. Now, it says, while they were perplexed about this, I have a sense there might have been some other emotions going on as well. Perplexed feels a little soft. But in this moment, two men in dazzling clothes stood beside them. Whoever these two men were in dazzling clothes, they are so frightening that the women bow their faces to the ground. But then they are asked this important question: why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here, but has risen. And then I think the most important word that Luke uses in the gospel this morning is the word remember. Remember. Remember how he told you while he was still in Galilee that the Son of Man must be handed over to sinners and be crucified and on the third day rise again. And it says then they remembered his words. There's a book our daughter Sahaley has, and the book is called Don't Forget to Remember. Don't forget to remember. And I think what's so captivating to me about the title of that book is because there are so many things in life that it's easy to forget to remember. And even the stories that we hear on Easter Sunday morning, the stories we hear about Jesus rising from the dead, are stories that we can forget to remember. It's also one of those things that's why it's so important that we teach history. We teach history because you have to hear the stories over and over again so you don't forget to remember why all these events were important. But there's also something really important that happens in that sentence. What has to happen before you can remember something? You have to experience it the first time, right? You can't remember without having experienced it the first time. Do any of you have a memory that is really not an actual memory, but a memory because you have heard the story so many times that you can imagine all the places, all the people, all the pictures, all the things that took place in that moment? Do any of you have memories like that? Yeah, you can raise your hand. This is one of those moments. It's okay. We're Lutherans. We don't do it when we sing, but you can raise your hands to answer questions. Right? So sometimes we've heard the story so many times that we can see ourselves in the place of the story. We can find our place because we remember Grandma's house or we remember wherever this took place, and we can see ourselves there even if we were 18 months old and there's no way that we could remember it. In fact, I'll tell you a story about myself, a story that I can picture even though I don't remember it, but I've heard the story so many times. When I was a child, if you can imagine this, I wasn't always the most well-behaved child, in church even. So one day in the middle of the church service, and this is a different time now, so don't get offended by this, my dad hauled me out of church, took me halfway down the stairs and spanked me, and the whole church heard it. So even to this day, people who remember that day will, oh, I remember that time your dad. And I have that memory now because I've heard that story so many times that it's just part of my memory, part of who I am. Okay, so why is this important? Just this last Monday, we gathered in this space to celebrate the life of Pastor John Henning. And on his casket that morning, when we placed the pall on his casket, we also placed a stole. And we actually placed this stole. He needed somebody to pick a stole. The family did. And so I picked the stole I knew I was going to wear today. Now, why would I do that? Because for all of the years of Pastor John's pastorate, 60-some years of being a pastor, he told the story over and over again about Jesus' death and resurrection. He told that story over and over again. I just thought that was sliding. Don't worry about me. A little jumpy this morning, I guess. He told that story over and over again to a people, all kinds of different people in all kinds of different places. One of the things we recognize as pastors is that our job is to plant seeds, and then we get to reap the harvest that somebody else has planted. And so the reminder to me on Easter morning is that this story has been told over and over again by so many different people. Some of you have heard it from so many different pastors over the years. And so you come here this morning and you remember. But there's also something important that happens on this day as well. Because there might be somebody here, and if not somebody here, there might be somebody that you run into this week, in the days, the weeks ahead, who has never heard the story. How can you ask them to remember something they've never heard? How can you ask them to know something they've never learned anything about? And so one of the jobs that we have as God's people, one of the jobs we have as Christians, is to keep sharing the story. Because the more that we share the story, the more there is a chance for people to remember. There's more of a chance for us to say, don't forget to remember the good news that Christ is risen. Don't forget to remember. But you cannot remember if you have never heard. You cannot remember if you have never been told. You cannot remember if it has never been shared with you. And so again, our call is that as we celebrate this resurrection, that this good news doesn't stay locked up in this place, but that this good news is spread throughout our community, throughout our world, throughout all of those places where there might be those who have not heard. And then, when we need encouragement, when we need filling, when we feel a little spiritually dry on our own, we come back to a place like this, whether this is your home or you have a home church someplace else, but you come back so that the community gathered around you can help you remember. Remember the story about a God who loves you. Remember a story about how you were made God's own in the waters of baptism. Remember a story about how Christ died for you and was raised from the dead, so that wherever Christ has gone, you may go as well, to take you to that place that has been prepared for you. So hear these words again today. And remember, don't forget to remember. Don't forget to tell someone else to remember. Don't forget to share the good news. Alleluia! Christ is risen. Christ is risen indeed. Alleluia. Let's rise and sing the hymn of the day.